people are paying attention. And so I think we've got some momentum going.
Good.
Do we have a quorum with 3 people? Okay.
You-
Well, I did have something I wanted to bring up from that meeting.
Sure, why don't we go ahead and start?
Yeah, I mean, Maureen is usually here at the beginning, right? So I would
Right.
think if she's not here, she's not going to attend. There was a suggestion that there be a meeting for teenagers to ask them what they would like to see in town. And I think that that could easily be expanded to people in their 20s. So let's say anybody under 30, right? People that you hope will stay in town and develop into the leaders of tomorrow. And because in 10 years, the teenagers are all going to be in their 20s, and the people in their 20s will be in, I mean, we need to think about that. So, and apparently, people think that's a really good thing for our town, our future to do, is to
Can we
have.
get them to show up?
We need some
I
teenagers.
don't know. Well,
Sometimes
yeah,
there's
first of all,
pizza.
we have to have pizza.
Yeah, that's what I was just said.
We
Yeah.
had pizza at this meeting and we got 56 people. So I think that it's sort of friendlier for one thing, but it's also, I think it was a draw for some people. It's like, okay, well, they're gonna have pizza, I'll go. Right? Whereas maybe they would have said, I'm not going. Who cares about them? Right? And
Now,
I think, go ahead.
if your goal is to try to get these young people to serve on a committee, well, I just want to tell you, we did this once. One success story. The young man used the Conservation Commission. He went for like part of a year to have his resume filled out, get credit. I mean, he did a good job, but he became like a forest ranger. And he grew up here in this town. First, he got the job at Mashapog, at Bigelow Hollow State Park, and then later he's one of those fire jumpers. Jumps out of the plane out west, puts the fires out. But he started out as a teen, E.O. Smith High School, and then I don't know if he was going to local college, but he started just attending those meetings, taking notes, asking questions, and then you ask the chair for a letter of recommendation. Maybe if it's presented a certain way that oh, this could be useful for my future.
Well, that's a good angle because it's it's not just about what they would see the town doing, what they would like to see happen here that would keep them in town socially, let's say. Not all the time, obviously, but sometimes, what could happen here that they would attend. And that's building community. I mean, and these people, the teens are going to know each other from having gone to school together, right? And even the early 20s, there's going to be a lot of overlap, it would seem to me. So, but I think that's a really nice angle to consider also, to see how many people are considering a career that has anything to do with conservation or
Environmental
wetland.
science, yeah.
Yeah, any of that.
If they see it's going to help
And
them, and they will do volunteer work. I see it in the library. They intern there. They get this letter of recommendation, and they go off. This launches them.
yeah, well, I wonder if we could have. I mean, this would have to take some buy-in from the commissions and boards. Who's elected? So just the Board of Finance, the Board of Selectmen, and the Planning and Zoning. They're elected, right? But inland wetlands and conservation are appointed, right? But anyway, I think at least for the appointed boards and commissions, they might be able to be talked into having some kind of an internship position for young people. One, or I mean, who knows how many people would want to do it, how many kids, but I think that might be an interesting concept. But anyway, I
It'd be
thought,
great.
well, there's something.
Because a lot of them are trying to decide what to do, and this will give them some idea.
Well, you get a little practice in something, you find out how government actually works. Yeah, I
That's
think that,
another angle, yeah.
yeah.
But there are a lot of kids interested in environmental science, and this could really help them decide.
Uh-huh. Okay.
We do have a youth and services person here in Ashford. I would think truthfully that, that you'd be better off trying to go through somebody like that who already has some contact with students and doing something. In that way, it's like a lot of the communities have, have these youth groups. The churches sometimes have them, but some towns have the what they call teen centers.
Mhm.
So there is a person, her name, I don't know if anybody knows Irene Rowley. She's the youth services director.
She's new.
Is
It
she?
was Melissa. It
I
was
don't.
Melissa McDonough. But I think Melissa left, so this must be the new person.
And they have hours, but that person has hours at the school. I mean, that's where I think she works probably for the Board of Ed, maybe. But
Mhm.
so I don't know. But I mean, I think either, I don't know whether some of the churches. I know when I was growing up there, we had the CYO, Christian Youth Organization. So those might be places either to get in a group to get invited to talk to the group, where there's already establishment and maybe some the kids already feel it's a safe place to talk, maybe. But I think that would be some couple of 2 or 3 areas to explore relative to maybe seeing what students are already involved, what maybe they may be doing, or what they may be already thinking, and it may be a way to kind of provide some synergy or some build upon what's already out there, to kind of say, okay, what more can be done to help? Maybe there's a couple of different groups. Maybe there is a CYO, maybe there's a group at one of the other churches, there's maybe the group at the school or something, and maybe there's a way to kind of bring them, maybe they're not the same groups in a sense as, maybe to bring them together with some kind of council of youth or something,
Mhm.
So
And
senior
that's the other thing
projects.
too. The Board of Selectmen could maybe do a resolution and designate one day or 1 week as student student youth week or something, and have a celebration and raise awareness, and maybe have some kids come and go to maybe a Board of Selectmen meeting to learn about government, or I mean, there's a lot of different things that could be done. I think it's
Mhm.
important. Yeah, I mean, it's a hard nut to crack sometimes, I guess, when you're dealing with because we're all young, we know what that was like, and hard to remember
They're
what it was like.
serious when they're young people, and they do a senior project at A.O. Smith,
Right.
and it's something in the community. And I think this would be perfect. My daughter worked with the town, and she did the Ashford Citizen, put it together, physically stapled together, got the pages in order, did that for an internship, and my son taught the elderly how to use a computer, how to open an attachment in an email or whatever, like things that we think are simple, or maybe young people think are simple, that this could be really useful in the community, but putting them on the right board for what they're interested in.
The 2 other groups that we might consider kind of looking at, or at least contacting it relative to your thought here, nor is Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts, because again, those are 2 other organizations where there's a collection of youth, maybe a lot more preteens and teens, but that might be again to kind of, even if it's a matter of getting all those groups together in one place, at least that's a way to kind of gather, herd the cat, so to speak.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So wait, so we have a quorum,
Yes,
right?
we do.
So we can start the meeting.
Have a quorum as of
Thank you, Maureen.
7:09. I'll call the meeting to order at 7. Call the meeting to order. Okay. So why don't we just go through the agenda real quick and get back down to that item then. So
Okay,
approval of minutes from March 3rd. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move we approve the minutes.
Do I have a second? Second. Okay. All in favor? Raise your
Aye.
hand or aye. Okay.
Sure, if I was
Thank
there,
you.
so
Okay. Thank you. Any other communication or announcements? Anybody else? The only thing I would say, I noticed on the news, the NBC has these grants that they're giving out. If anybody saw them, they're for 501(c)(3)s, which we aren't, but they do involve youth. You know, how do you stimulate youth? How do you engage the community? I mean, it all sounded great stuff, except that you know, I don't know if there's a group out there that could tap into that. Certainly we can't, because it's one of the first things is you have to be a 501(c)(3).
Mhm.
But anyway, a 503 one. What is it? 503?
501(c)(3).
C3, right? Yeah. So anyhow, that's the one announcement. But the due date for that is this Friday, so it's kind of tight front time frame. But there's a lot of money they were giving out, anywhere from 100,000 and downward. So that's my communication. Okay, so we want to get back to we'll go to old business, and I guess we can pick up where you started talking about, Nora, on discussion of the POCD listening session, and I know that Maureen, you attended as well, right? So please
Yeah.
feel free to jump in.
So what I was bringing up before we had a quorum was the idea that somebody floated at that meeting, that there be a meeting for teenagers in town to talk about what they see the future of the town, what they see is needed. And I have since that meeting heard that Our Town, Our Future would probably be the best group to sponsor something like that. And what Mike was talking about when you came in was that instead of our group having a meeting and inviting everybody to Knowlton Hall, that we should perhaps take advantage of the youth groups that already exist. So scouts, if there are any teenagers in the scouts, church groups, things like that, and have them, then they're in a more safe environment, I guess is one way to put it. Not that they would be unsafe with us, but safe meaning comfortable for them. So I don't see that happening this spring, just because spring is crazy always. But I don't know about summer, or should we try to do something like that in the fall? I
I
think,
think pre-planning would be key. Maybe reaching out to the groups over the next few months to see what
yeah.
they are and whether they're receptive to it, and maybe you bring the pizza to the group, saying, "Hey, we'd like to be invited to your next meeting, and we're bringing pizza or something." If that's what you want to do, or
Yeah.
you do it, you see if all the groups are interested, and maybe have them come to one meeting together. I don't know, but it can be, it could be maybe more relaxed than just going out to these groups, and maybe go to every group is a little bit different, and representatives from our group go and meet with them on their turf, and just have a set series of questions that we want to kind of get some feedback on, and that way you kind of get a more diverse feedback from each of those groups at their place, so to speak. Just my thought.
Well, I personally don't have any contacts with any youth groups, so I don't think I'll be particularly helpful with that. I mean, if nobody else does, of course, then we're all at the same disadvantage.
We know Nord. That's the Boy Scout in there.
I know somebody, biologist at E.O. Smith, and before, when we've needed help, let's say invasive plant removal, aquatic invasive plant removal, she can choose people who are potential science majors who want to get some experience in this. It could be juniors. If they're seniors, then they already have to be like right close to finishing up their project and all. But if they were juniors and then they're trying to figure out if this is what they want to do, there could be some project with the Conservation Commission. I don't know about the other committees, what kind of projects.
Well, again, nor the intent is what I mean. What are the outputs that people are looking to get from this?
I think the idea was primarily to get input from these young people about where if any of them have any idea about where the town should be going, what we need to have in town that we don't, because we've been, all the meetings that we've had, there are usually not even very many young people. There, you know, even people in their 50s are young for those meetings. So the
Like
ideal
Maureen,
was to get actual young people thinking about it,
right?
and understanding that as they get older, it becomes their responsibility to figure out what the future of the town is. And I think that's the idea. I do think that it's going to take some finesse on our part to present something. You know, you don't go in and say, okay, what do you think the town needs? Right? Because they're not going to be ready for that. But to we'll have to think about how to approach it and how to ask the question, I think. And it might be smart to involve somebody like the science teacher, Gwen, that works with teens, that knows how to approach them, and I think we need to prepare them for this question. You can't just ask it, you know, point blank. So maybe talk to the civics teacher if they actually have civics anymore, that sort of thing.
The question for you as a follow-up. So you get input from these groups. Where is this information going to reside, and how will is it? Who's going to take that information and use it to
And
do
use it
whatever?
later. Well, that's an excellent question. So I was going to ask you another question, because we talked about something, I don't know if it was last month, I mean, or if I ran into you somewhere and you talked about a strategic plan. So for Maureen and Gwen, the plan of conservation and development is a tool for the Planning and Zoning Commission. It is
Yes, I
not,
know.
it is not a tool for all the organizations in town. However, the statute says that certain things should be considered in the plan. Natural resources, public safety, development, and I mean, on and
History, how about history? Historical
historical society.
preservation?
Yeah, there's like, it's all the categories that are already in the POCD. I'm blanking on them, but so those concepts are being addressed, but the responsibility for achieving those goals, for achieving any goals that are not precisely for the Planning and Zoning Commission, the other goals have to be achieved by the relevant commissions themselves. And I will say that most of the goals that have been submitted for these other groups are fairly general. And something, and I've brought things up like, what about, why can't we focus more on this? And they said, this was early on. I mean, I learned my lesson. This isn't about these other groups and these other goals. This is about the goals for the Planning and Zoning Commission, and to have a document that clearly states what the town wants to have happen in terms of conservation and development, and the Planning and Zoning Commission, when it needs to rule on something or make a change, goes to the POCD for guidance.
Mhm.
But they're not paying any attention to the watershed, except for whatever the regulations are for building near a watershed, for example. And so they said those things are to be dealt with in a town strategic plan, which is different from a plan of conservation and development.
Doesn't
And
it
Mike,
mention
I
water
thought
quality? Doesn't it, the PLCD?
these items are in there, but there is no overall plan to connect all the goals and resolve any conflict in the goals, to have an overarching plan for the town other than what goes to the PCC. And if you want an overarching, interactive, collaborative set of goals for the town, then what you need is a strategic plan. And that incorporates all the different groups and boards and commissions plus interest groups of the townspeople. And that is not the job of the POCD subcommittee or the Planning and Zoning Commission. And Mike, I thought you said that you were interested in that concept of a strategic plan and that you were going to talk to Catherine about it. Did I misunderstand you?
No, I mean, no, I did talk with Jeff a little bit as well in the last couple of weeks, a couple times. But yeah, I mean, if things that are currently in the POCD are being taken out of it, they have to have some home, some document where they reside, where they're kind of stored and looked at, actually not stored, but where they're there to be acted upon, and that natural place would be what would be a strategic plan for the town. Now, I know that Catherine had expressed a desire to do that, early on, in her last year or the year before, I should say, yeah. And but that hasn't happened at this point. So I think, yeah, that's something, the next logical step. I think, from my perspective, just to summarize it here, is that POCD has to be finalized in a sense, so we know what isn't going to be in it, and it's a matter of taking those things and getting groups together and organizing and developing a strategic plan for the town. So, you have to unmute yourself, Maureen. Oh, Maureen.
You're muted, Maureen. You're muted.
I'm muted. Okay. I just feel like this is so general, and I feel like we're getting away from our purpose. Like, POCD is not what this committee is all about.
Right.
And what I think we should just go back to our original objective. We're trying to unify the town. I think that these meetings have been with that goal in mind, and we should continue to pursue it, because I've said it before, but I just think this is the one mechanism where all the groups in the town can find out what everyone else is doing and work to develop goals just naturally, out of it. And I think I had said before too, that I think if we get a strong system of meetings going, people will look forward to it and will use that forum to work together. So I think our goal is not to come up with a strategic plan or to nurse it or anything like that. Is to get people together and let them do what's important to them.
Definitely.
That's
somebody
just
has to organize that effort. And
well, you get everybody in the room, and I would give the organization to somebody else.
Yeah, it really rests with the Board of Selectmen. I mean,
okay.
Truthfully, because if you're going to truly do a strategic plan for a town, it has to have some legislative backing, and we're not that group.
That's not us. No, we don't want to do that.
No, but you're right. I think, Maureen, I agree with you in a sense that I think where I'm kind of at is that right now we're kind of in a holding pattern in a sense, waiting for the POC to get wrapped up.
Right, right.
Whatever is left, then we can have the board work with the Board of Selectmen and say, okay, how do you want to facilitate wrapping those items that are no longer in the POCD into another document that you call a strategic plan, so that it's something that can be a living, breathing mechanism. So then, yes, then we can act upon it, facilitate, goals and objectives of that strategic plan. Like we have tried to do in the past.
With the POCD and with the strategic plan, though, I don't see any action. I see a lot of paperwork, and I'll tell you, with the the listening group we had, I think one of the things people were most excited about was the Cattle Rock, whatever we're going to call it, property. And I know we're applying for that grant. I don't know if we've gotten it or not, but
no, it hasn't even. The application has not been put in yet.
Oh, I thought the deadline was passed. $200,000. Oh my gosh. Okay. but someone had suggested like a recreational center, and I thought, boy, if we could get young people's involvement in what they would want to see there, to me, that's really exciting. But no, I don't know. But I just feel like we should be the group that pulls everybody together and brainstorms and let people come up with what they want to see and just help that along. And I think that our meetings have been very instrumental in that.
Yeah, I think I'm going to speak for myself here, but right now I think us trying to do that kind of muddies the water with what's going on with the POCD. You know, people have to have a clear understanding of, okay, what are we going to be talking about? You know, and I think right now there's still a blurred line between what's in the POCD, what might not be in the POCD, and then what we should then say, okay, now we have to kind of focus on these things that are more, you know, town centric, I'll call it. That really, you know, we can, you know, work on like those type of individual projects or thoughts and things, and may have meetings that, you know, strategically focus on, okay, well, now what are we going to do want to do it in Kettle Rock or anything else like that. So I don't know, that's just my sense. It's right now, it's kind of like, I don't want to be cross purposes with what planning and zoning is trying to accomplish, because they got to finish up the timeline's got to be soon, right, Nora? I mean,
Very tight.
They
Yeah.
need to be submitting that in like the next couple months.
Well, in the next couple weeks, actually.
Yeah, so.
Some early May is when it needs to go in. And I'll just say that the other goals are in the POCD, but it's up to the boards and commissions who submitted them to follow through on them.
Yeah.
We're gonna update them, and we've worked on it in the Conservation Commission. There's some people who are really the active writers, but we've discussed it, and they've put new information and tried to update it. Like for instance, invasive plants. This was something that was discussed, but we realized we have to keep it very general because things can change, and in so many years down the road, which plants are the worst.
But you're supposed to revisit it every year or two. Then you can revise it. You don't want, in my opinion, they should be specific. And then if it turns out that they're not right, then you can change them.
Well,
But you know in the short term what you want to do. Anyway, that's kind of off the subject. I just wanted to say that those goals are in there, but they're not the priority, and they're not going to be have anything done except by the boards and commissions that submitted them.
And to that point, Nora, I think what's critical about having a strategic plan is that, you know, each committee, you know, or a commission like EDC, Wetlands, Conservation, can all have their separate document plans, goals, and objectives. But if they're in separate, not put together in one document for the town, then people don't even see what's going on, and you know, there's an opportunity that's lost. I think having the synergy, having things all in one place where everybody can see what the interconnections are and importance are of the various groups, how they work together, where there may be conflicts, where there may not, where maybe be things that they're working on, you know, in kind of parallel purposes, where they could you know, kind of combine efforts. That to me is the power of, you know, what our town, our future could bring with the meetings that Maureen's talking about, or the organization of things. But I think I'm right now kind of confused as to, okay, where are we? I mean, what's going to be left out of what the POCD's directives is? Because then the rest of that stuff, the stuff we've got to now organize to the end of trying to get it moving forward in a dynamic way with, you know, the community at large.
Right. So the two sets of goals have been separated for every category. So if there are PZC specific goals that have been brought forth, then they are labeled that, you know, goals for the POCD under conservation or under housing or all those various things, right? And then the other ones are, you know, to be worked on by the Conservation Commission, by the Energy Task Force, etc., that sort of thing. So anything that's not labeled strictly PZC is open. Now I'll make another comment, and that is that we are specifically putting into the POCD that the Planning and Zoning Commission will consult with subject matter experts in the other boards and commissions when certain things come up before them. So for example, the text amendment, they didn't formally ask the Conservation Commission to make input. Conservation Commission did that on their own, but under the new POCD, the first thing that would happen is that inland wetlands and the Conservation Commission would be asked for input about a building that size in that particular location, etc. So that is trying to have, it's recognizing that the commissions do have subject matter experts that know things that the PZC doesn't know, and that the PZC is going to be consulting. And so you've got this going on instead of just this, which is what we have a lot of silos, where there's no formal way that the boards and commissions communicate when they're doing business. And the other thing that they are planning to do is have meetings, I'd say at least once a year, maybe twice, where the various boards and commissions would come together and discuss what's happening within their own jurisdiction, so that everybody else knows what's going on. Because Conservation Commission doesn't know what inland wetlands is doing, and agriculture doesn't know what inland wetlands is, that sort of thing.
That's
So
where
I
we
think
fit in,
those
though.
are two good improvements. Sorry, Maureen.
That's where we fit in. To help
Yes,
people
but
talk
this
to
is
each other.
this is at the commission level,
Yeah.
not something that we'd be doing. And I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
But I get frustrated
idea.
too, because we talk about things and I never knew the resolutions, because I'm not active in town government. For example, our stakeholders meeting, whatever, a couple of times ago, we talked about the lack of affordable housing in Ashford. I'm curious about what's been done about that. I know there was a grant for the senior center and stuff, but all these really important issues came up, and I don't know where they went. I don't know what happened with them, if they've been addressed or abandoned. And so, somehow updates would be really good.
Right. Well, when the planning and POCD comes out, you will see the recommendations or the goals for the housing commission, and several of them do pertain specifically to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and they were discussed at the listening session. And that is, right now, you can build a house, a single family house on 2 acres, as long as you meet the septic requirements, without going to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Right now, you are not allowed to build cluster housing, period. And what they're suggesting is that you allow that the regulation be changed, and that you allow cluster housing by right, meaning you don't have to go to PZC, but PZC would set up regulations around cluster housing. And what that does is it puts more than one family unit on a 2-acre parcel. Also make some of the parcels smaller. If you can get a septic system and a well in 1 acre, that should be fine,
Well, that's something too that I immediately think should the town have input, because we are very insistent on retaining our rural milieu here, and cluster housing is not part of that. So just a thought of mine that's a big issue.
Well, but it would be, if they decide to rewrite the regulation for that, there would be public hearings for it, certainly.
Right.
And I don't think we're talking about major developments, but we're talking about 1-bedroom, small units for the senior citizens that are telling us that they want to move out of their 4-bedroom house into an affordable, manageable property that they would own. And that's what this would be. This wouldn't be a family place. This would be for essentially single or a couple living in a 1-bedroom place. And that's one of the things, people want inexpensive starter housing, and they want to be able to downsize from their big houses. Those are the two major things, and they could both be accomplished through cluster housing.
Now on Fitz Road, we have a few homes that are two-family.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's like really unusual in town. But a young couple might want to buy this and then have the other side help pay the mortgage. And then it might be a good thing for older people too.
Yeah. And
But that's not a
I don't
huge
know how it would
development.
be, whether they'd all have to be owner occupied or what. But there are a lot of possibilities. And I think, Maureen, you probably heard the discussion with Ruth Cutler where she said, I couldn't have 10 more cars driving on my road, and she lives, Pease
Lips
Road,
Loops Road.
yeah, anyway, it's a dirt road that she lives on.
Mhm.
And so obviously that would be part of the regulation. It would have to be a place that could handle extra traffic and that sort of thing. But
So Nora, what is the timeline? When will the public be able to see a document of the POCD?
well, we've just about finished going through all the submissions, and there's input that has to happen from Mike D'Amato and Tyke in terms of certain statistics and tables and things that need to be updated. And as of last week, that had not happened yet. I don't think it takes him all that long to do things. He's pretty experienced and efficient. But if we were to turn it in to the Board of Selectmen 65 days before it's due, that would be the 25th of April. I don't think we're going to hit that date. I would say early May we would have it. It goes to and I don't remember I think it goes to the Board of Selectmen first and then the public, but I'm not sure. So I would say sometime in May.
Okay.
I just
any
want, I don't know if my information was correct or not, but I'd heard like Mansfield had public meetings for their POCD, had very poor turnout. I think it's incredible. We had what, like 50 people at Ashford's? I thought
Yeah.
that was really good because
And I think that's due to the fact that people are still really tuned in because of the text amendment proposal last year, or 2023, I guess it was. People are very alert to keeping the town rural, and so they're paying attention to that.
good. Yeah.
Okay, I think we've talked about that for a little bit here. I think I get clear understanding. Thank you for the updates, ladies. Any project updates that anybody would like to speak to? I can offer something. The EDC, we did get a grant, or tourism grant. We've actually hired a local videographer who is going to be working on that, and it's going to be like basically something for a YouTube channel or something that can be updated. It's going to be probably a video of various things in town. It's probably going to be under a minute to give you an idea. But it's a cross section of businesses, of places. We're going to try to integrate, what you've done, Nora, on the trail systems and things, and how we can kind of highlight that as something. But there'll be maybe something from Connecticut Path, the winery, the distillery, maybe maple syrup. There's a whole list of venues. I think we're at Henrietta House, Knowlton Hall, or we're going to try to give a cross section of what is
Orchard,
Ashford.
Crooks
Why
Orchard.
why would you want why do you want to discover, this come discover Ashford, the adventure, the outdoors.
And where will this be played?
It'll be actually something that'll be uploaded to have its own YouTube channel, so to speak, where you can, it'll be the links to it will be posted on websites, be publicized, probably be on the tourism, the Connecticut tourism
Tourism website. Yeah, good idea.
So it's just a way it's being paid, half of it's paid through the tourism grant that we got, and the other half the EDC is paying out of its budget to get this thing done. But it's probably got a deliverable, probably done by midsummer to late to early fall. Probably when it'll actually be completed.
Mhm.
So this is being done professionally, so it's not like somebody going around with their camera phone and video. So it's going to be really. I mean, this gentleman, he's a local kid, went through the school system here, and he does this professionally. He just came back from a shoot out in London. He was down in Texas. He's done all kinds of stuff up in Boston. So it's just
That's great.
should be
It's a
something
great
to look
idea.
forward to.
Yeah.
As far as updates, Gwen, what's the Historical Society doing?
Well, I just want, it's under new management. They are doing great. They have a lot of energy.
What have they
It's
done?
so exciting. My husband wants to join. That's a miracle.
Okay, but I mean, one thing we
I'll
had
tell
talked,
you one thing
about was, one thing we had talked about was interviewing elderly people in town before, while we still can. And has that ever happened? We've talked about that for years.
My husband has joined, and that's one of the things he's very interested in doing.
Yes.
And another thing that I know is happening because he's a member is that Robert Thorson is going to come and talk. He's the stone wall guy.
Right.
And I don't have the date for that, but that should be a big draw.
It's
town.
Friday.
And maybe other towns as well.
Friday, May 16th.
Good.
Unfortunately, I have a conflict. I'm going to be at a conference out of town, so I'm
Yeah.
so bummed. But I know that'll be good because I've heard some of his other talks.
Right. Oh yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, they're more active. They have like meetings outside of the regular meetings where we went to a restaurant and it's just like wonderful. Everybody's excited about this and cares about the history in our town. And Maureen, you should join.
Well, I just wonder what they're doing though. I haven't seen any. Now this is the only program I've ever heard of. I don't. The library had one kind of in conjunction, but I mean, at Pomfret's just spitting them out like crazy, their programs, and I keep looking for Ashford, and I hear about how wonderful the society is now, but I don't know what they're doing, and I'm very interested.
They had a couple programs last year at Knowlton Hall. One of them was
one at the library about
yeah, well, it's at the library because Ann Harper will organize that aspect of it. So that Historical Society gets the lecturer and Ann will set up the venue. And I think that works out really well. And she's able to do better advertising than the Historical Society as well.
Well, good. I'm looking forward to more because we certainly have a wonderful history here, and
yeah,
it would be wonderful to have more presentations.
But
the Thorson one sounds great.
Yeah.
And the meetings are Tuesday night. I have a conflict I work that night, so I wish I could tell you more, Maureen, but you should attend one of their Tuesday night meetings. It's once per month, and just see if you'd be interested in joining.
Sounds good.
Okay, new business next steps. I think we probably kind of talked about it. I'll summarize it, and you guys let me know if this sounds realistic. Maybe that our group should wait POC kind of wrapping up. Then we need to kind of look at a strategic plan kind of element and how we can pull the rest of that information together to kind of continue our prime mission, facilitating new ideas in town. And then the only other sidebar would be whether this group wants to kind of facilitate some kind of youth group meeting where maybe some survey questions and some feedback could be garnered from the youth in Ashford to determine what they think the future needs for them while they're still teens or growing up, and then how they view what they might need to consider coming back and growing up, living the rest of their life or a good part of their life here in Ashford. So that's something, I guess, if somebody wants to do any digging on that, I mean, if you want, I will reach out to the the youth service person, and just kind of ask around, see what her thoughts might be on that, and keep you on the loop on that.
Okay.
Unless somebody else wants to do that. Any volunteers on that? No? Okay.
Have you met her? Do you know her?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I think she works for the school, it looks like. You might guess. That's where her office is, at the school.
Is it? Okay.
So we talked about the POCD. Nobody from the public. Any other thoughts about discussion items for next agenda, other than maybe we'll have some further information on what's going on with POCD, and maybe I'll be able to get a hold of Catherine between now and then and just kind of pick her brain on a strategic plan effort. I'm not sure she's going to be continuing on during this fall's election or not, but we'll see.
Okay.
Mhm.
I have a nostalgic comment about this committee, though. Seeing the gas station moving on.
I know.
That was one of the first things we did, and it was wonderful. And
That.
I hope
Huh?
you got good pictures.
yeah, I have pictures of when we did it.
Right.
It was wonderful because
My arm still hasn't recovered from all the work we did painting and stuff.
no, I mean we had to wash it first. I mean, it was really, what is going in there? Is that a Subway? That's what I've heard, or I don't know. Something.
I've
No, it's a
heard used car lot.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my.
We'll see.
We'll see. Is there
But I
much
think
room there?
No, I think they're gonna. It looks like they're keeping the building, at least the that might be the star part of the whole operation. That's part of why
They
they.
have to have an office to rake in all that money.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so no other comments anybody has?
Mhm.
No.
Okay, then I'll look for a motion to adjourn. And first, before I do that, thank you everybody for coming this evening. Appreciate it. And
I
we'll
move we
hopefully-
adjourn.
Okay, thank you. Second?
I second.
2 seconds.
That's a quarter each. So thank you.
Okay.
Thanks. Have a good evening there, ladies.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Happy spring
Thank you.
somewhere.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.